Okay, so for this first section or this first part of 2.3, we're going to be talking about slope. And this is still tying in with linear functions. We're going to start with slope, and then in a couple of the other sections, or a couple of the other parts, we'll talk about equations of lines and things like that we can do with this. So the first thing is that slope is the change in y over the change in x, and those are dashes out in the front of these. Those are not negative signs. This is also sometimes called rise over run. And so the way that we calculate this is if we want the change in y, then we're going to have 2 points, ordered pairs. And so we're going to have a y2 and a y1, and we're going to subtract those so that we can get the difference between them. And then we're going to have the change in the x's. Now, it does specifically state here that x2 minus x1 cannot be 0, and that's because we are doing division and you're not allowed to divide by 0, okay? So we're going to take a look at an example here. I am going to get our formula over here on our whiteboard, and then we're going to take a look. So the example that we're going to look at is they want us to do 4, -2, and -1, 5 as our ordered pairs, okay? So we're going to take a look over here at our whiteboard. Now, when we do this, okay, we usually, or I personally usually label whatever order that they start me in. So this is going to be x1 and y1, x2 and y2. It doesn't really matter, and I will show you both directions. But the thing here is that you can't just go, well, I like this one to be my first y, but I want this to be my first x. You've got to keep the pairings together. So if we're going to do it this way, we've got 5 minus as part of the problem, and then a -2 over -1 minus 4. So I've got 5 minus negative, so that's going to turn into plus. So that's 5 plus 2 is going to be 7. And I've got -1 minus 4, that's going to be -5. And we can leave it just like that. Some people will opt to pull the negative out into the front end like that. Okay, so I've got -7/5 for that. Now, I'm going to pick a different color here and say, what if you chose to let this set be your x1 and this other set to be your second pair? Okay, so if that's the case, then y2 would be -2 minus 5 over x2 is 4 minus -1. We're going to get -2 minus 5 is -7. 4 minus negative, that's going to be plus. Again, we still get -7/5. So either order that you want to put those in is fine. Okay. And so that is your preference. But you will get the same slope. Now, again, this is the change in y or my rise. The bottom would be my run. So we've got a rise. Now, with the negative, you can put the negative with either one. So we can either say I do have an upward rise of 5, and then -5 would be back to the left 5. You could also put the negative with the top and say that I'm going down 7, and then I'm running or moving to the right 5. Okay. So, now, a couple of options that you have inside of slope, okay? This was a diagram that I saw illustrated when I went to a math conference. Yes, they have those. And it was a middle school teacher. She was wonderful. And she showed this. Her drawings were a lot better than mine. But the idea here was that we had this skier and he missed the ski lift. And so he's got this really great attitude, a really positive attitude as he's moving up the hill. So he's going puff, puff, positive as he's going up the hill. He's not super happy about it, but he's still got this great attitude. When he gets to the top, he goes, this is zero fun. If you've ever been skiing, flat is not the fun part. Okay, that would be the downhill. So then coming down the mountain, he's going nice, negative. As he's coming down the hill and super happy. Unfortunately, our friend here is not going to make it through this ski trip in one piece. And unfortunately, she did that his life was undefined. I found with my students that I just have him saying the undefined word when we do this. So the concept here is that I do have all 4 options for my slope. So the beginning is kind of these upward hills, that increasing idea that we saw out of section 2.2. We have a positive slope. when we get to the top and it's a horizontal line that actually has a slope of 0, or there is, because we're not changing the y, so we have a slope of 0 there. Negative slopes are going to look like that decreasing type of line, that down a hill. So we've got the negative there. And then vertical lines, which is when our little friend here goes off the cliff, vertical lines are undefined. And that is actually that scenario where we have that the x2 minus x1 actually is 0. So that's how we know that that is undefined.